It is my pleasure to introduce our next panel. This is the Quantum Generation, Pathways to Quantum 2025. And this is a panel with students. So our first student is Horayn Gibson, student at Charles Herbert Flowers High School, Lara Day, student at Langley High School, and Tewodros Abeje, a student at Roosevelt High School. Facilitating the discussion is Professor Jessica Rosenberg. She's the Director of Education of the Quantum Science and Engineering Center at George Mason University.
Well, thank you so much for coming and joining us and hearing about the program that we've been running. This is a program that we just ran for a 4th year. It's a collaboration between George Mason University and the Connected DMV Potomac Quantum Innovation Center. And, it is one of a handful of programs that aims to introduce the next generation to quantum. And our goal in doing this is maybe a little bit different from what a lot of programs are doing. We really want the students to understand what the opportunities are in quantum, what they look like, get them excited about it. It's less about sort of deep understanding of quantum information and material, and more about seeing what those pathways are all about. And so we designed the program around a 2-week virtual course followed by 1 week in person where they get to travel around this region to see where people are actually working on quantum, to talk to experts in the field, to hear about what they're doing, and to understand what those pathways are all about. And then a handful of opportunities beyond the program to learn a little bit more, including one to dive into an area of interest in quantum and create a poster, which is presented here. So if you haven't seen them, upstairs on the top floor here are the posters from a lot of these students. And so one thing I must say is, we've had this program. This was a 4th year running. Unfortunately, we are out of funding for the program. So if this is of interest and you or your organization has the ability to support it or would be interested in it, please come talk to me. We would love to continue the program. This is really about preparing the next generation, and you'll hear about the amazing things these students are doing. So without further ado, since I'm sure they are the ones you want to hear from, not me, I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, their name, their school district, and one thing that they want to highlight about the program. So, Horayn, why don't we start with you?
Hi, my name is Horayn Gibson. I go to Charles Herbert Flowers High School in Prince George's County, Maryland. And a highlight from the Quantum Immersion program was visiting the Q Lab at UMD. It was my very first time seeing a quantum computer in real life. It was eye-opening, moving from reading about quantum concepts to actually seeing the hardware and environment where the real research is taking place.
Hi everyone, my name is Lara Day. I go to Langley High School in Fairfax County. And the most important and amazing part of my quantum experience was when we got to go out and see MITRE and see all the amazing quantum technologies that they're developing. I feel like quantum had kind of just existed in my head up until that point. So seeing how people are taking quantum concepts and turning them into emerging technologies was something that really solidified that I wanted my career to be in quantum.
Hi, my name is Tewodros Abeje. I go to Roosevelt High School in Prince George's County, Maryland. One highlight of mine was visiting NASA's Quest laboratory. Why that was a highlight for me specifically was because it showed me just how specific and how impactful quantum can be in so many different areas, but in a place that I'm really interested in, space exploration.
Great. So, Laura, I'll start with you for the next question, but we'll get to the others as well. Can you talk a little bit about how the program has helped you learn about quantum and sort of what you've taken away about the topic from it?
Yes. So one thing I really enjoyed about the program was that not only did we just learn about concepts like superposition and quantum entanglement, but we also got to see them in action. Now, whether that be through experiments with like spectroscopers or with like we got to take little polarizers they gave us, and we got to adjust them to see how polarization can work. And then we also were able to do a few quantum logic problems. Like my personal favorite was the money and tiger problem. I felt so smart when we finally solved it. It was challenging, but I think problems like that and applications like that were what really like solidified my interest in quantum, and especially because the program itself, we got to go out into the field and see like, okay, this is what MITRE's doing, this is what they're doing over at GMU, this is what they're doing at IonQ, and that was really impactful for me because I was like, wow, this is what my future could look like, this is what my career could look like in the future. And so learning those concepts and then just getting to see them in practice and getting to put them into practice was something that I found invaluable to my experience in quantum, especially because before that, kind of quantum seemed like such a scary concept to me and it seemed so foreign, but now I realize that its applications are almost universal, and in the future I'm sure quantum will show up in almost every aspect of daily life. So getting to see that and getting my eyes open and getting a head start on that was something that was really valuable to me.
How about for you, Tewodros?
So what I think was really impactful about the program and what I really saw was just how quantum could be so interdisciplinary. Oh, I just messed that up. but that's what I thought was most impactful to me because I came in as a quantum computer. I had experience with Cirque and Qiskit, and that was what I was really focused on. But I never really realized just how many different fields it could affect. And so when I went into the program and just got to see all the different things it had applied to, I realized that quantum had a hand in every part of technology.
For me, going into the program, I did not know anything about quantum, but through the lessons that Dr. Rosenberg and Dr. Hollencheck taught us, they made it really digestible for myself and my peers to understand. I would say my favorite lesson was the polarization one. I feel like that one was really nice because we had something physical to work with, something physical that we could see and kind of play with. So I really did like that. It was really nice.
Right. I'm actually going to switch the order around here for a little bit on you and start with you, Tewodros, and have each of you talk a little bit about the things that we've done sort of since the program. So all of you did posters and some of you participated in one of our sort of micro internship experiences. And so I'd love to hear sort of your thoughts on those parts of the experience and how they've impacted you.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with the posters. I think the posters was probably one of the most important things you could have done while being in the immersion program. I think because the posters actually gave you a push into a specific field. I feel like during the immersion program, you got introduced to so many different fields and got to see so many different labs and see so many different applications. But if you really wanted an in-depth experience and really wanted to figure out what's one field that I could see myself going into, I think doing the poster did that for me. And I think it did it for everybody else too. Because the poster allowed us to research one topic and really understand how it affects today, how it's gonna affect 10 years, and what's the science behind that. And by doing that, you give yourself the opportunity to go and understand a field more in depth than you would have if you just visited the lab, etc. The second part of the program, and that was going to these mini shadowing programs / internships, was getting to see the actual workflow of quantum technology. Like, how does someone who works in quantum operate? And me specifically, I was in INA Solutions, which is a quantum machine learning program company as a startup. And so I got to see like the different machine learning algorithms that could be applied to quantum technology. So, and then this really helped me because as a person who was computer science focused and quantum computing focused while entering the program, it gave me an opportunity to see a company and how somebody working in a quantum computing company operates. And it made me realize, yeah, I do want to be in that type of environment.
Yeah, building off of what Ted just said, I also took an internship at INA Solutions, and for the longest time, like ever since ChatGPT came out, so like 2020, I have been so interested in AI. I think AI is so cool. So getting the opportunity to do quantum machine learning at INA Solutions was just like a dream come true for me, especially because we actually got to see how quantum algorithms can optimize like existing classical algorithms to make them so much faster, so much more efficient, so much more cost effective. That was really magical for me. And especially like what he said about the posters as well. I did mine on quantum retrieval augmented generation, which is how AI retrieves information and gives you, answers, and it deals with how it hallucinates and things like that. And so getting to do that and getting to research something that I love so much really like solidified my passion for quantum and my like interest in pursuing a career like that. I think those are really, really big influences. Yeah.
So for me, I think I was the only one who did not do the INA Solutions internship. However, I did do a poster, and basically the poster allowed us to find a quantum technology that kind of bridged with our personal interest in STEM. So for my poster, I did mine on smart coastal defense using quantum gravimeters. And basically, a quantum gravimeter is a quantum sensor that can detect little shifts in Earth's tectonic plates to see any movement. And basically my project was just talking about how that can be used to prevent flooding in coastal areas, so say Florida, Texas, some parts of Texas, and Louisiana. And my inspiration from that project actually came from my first ever engineering class I took. So that first engineering class, they had us do a project on levees. Levees are man-made structures, like natural barriers to protect from flooding, again, against coastal areas. So, kind of thinking about that project that I really like to do and how can I bring quantum into it was just a really nice experience, and I enjoyed making the posters. The posters, they're on the second floor by the lunch, so if you guys are interested, please take a look at them.
Yeah, please do come see what they've done, because I think one of the things about the posters, at least for me, and this project, is that it's an opportunity for the students to pursue something that's of interest to them. And what I find amazing every time we do this is that, having spent 3 weeks tops learning about quantum, they really manage to find their way through the details of it quite incredibly. I mean, this was with a couple of virtual meetings. Most of what we did was, a little bit of grammar fixing here and there, and making the boxes all line up. But beyond that, it's really all of their work exploring all of this. And I think it really shows what students can do, just given a little bit of information and kind of let run with it. And in terms of the sort of internship pieces, I know when we started the project, there was a lot of questions about what can high school students really do? And the fact that in, this week-long sort of project with INA has shown that there are things that they can do and really learn from, and we're always looking for other partners as we kind of put together the program so that they get additional experiences. Okay, so with that, we'll start with you, Horayn, and thinking about how the program has impacted what you're thinking about your future career path, college, all of the things that come next, whichever pieces it's sort of made you think about or maybe think about differently.
Okay, so coming into the program, I already knew what I wanted to do. I know that I'm interested or passionate about electrical engineering, but what I wanted to figure out was how can such a niche field connect to electrical engineering? And through the program, through the site visits, I've come to learn that they are not as far apart as I thought initially, right? I realized that electrical engineers are the ones who are building the quantum hardware and devices to make these systems work. And all in all, I believe that yes, I will still be pursuing a degree in electrical engineering, but I can also look for internships or graduate programs that can keep me connected with quantum as well, so I can implement both in my field.
Yeah, no, for me, I definitely think that I didn't really realize that quantum was so prevalent in STEM right now until I kind of entered this program. So like Rain said, like I really, really want to see like how quantum integrates with my chosen career path, which is like AI and computer science, especially because AI is so accelerated right now, and the way it's moving, I think that like optimizing it and optimizing memory usage and things like that in computer science and in AI programs can be something that's really invaluable and kind of revolutionize how we think of technology today. So I just think that the optimization properties that quantum proposes to all sorts of technologies are just so interesting, and I'm so excited to see how it goes from here, and I definitely will be following up with how quantum technology is proceeding in the future.
Yeah, so adding on to what both of them said, I think going into the program, I was kind of on the bridge between, do I want to become a physicist or do I want to focus on computer science? And well, I had a real good passion for physics, but I was worried about if I was going to become a full physics and get my PhD in physics, would I lose my software skills? And I realized through the program, no. Like, physicists still code and still use their software even as much as a computer, I don't think as much, but still use it for a large majority of what they do. And then additionally going into the program, I was, as I said, like focused on computer science and just on that bridge. But I realized that quantum plays such a big part in so many different fields that I don't have to fully develop and fully focus on becoming a quantum computer focused scientist. And I could do more than that. I could, for example, when I went to NASA, I realized that Quest was doing a atomic clock, and I found that super interesting because I never saw time being kept at such an accuracy for such a long time.
Great. So you've all talked about how this has sort of impacted your thinking about the future. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what is it you still sort of want to know? What is it you're still curious about as you think about what you might do in the future? You're all still just going into your senior year in high school or just started your senior year, so you've got lots ahead of you and lots to figure out. What's on your mind is the things that you're curious about, whether it's about where quantum's going, where you might go, how your path might take you. What questions, sticks in mind?
Oh, okay. I'll start off. So as I said before, I'm really interested in electrical engineering, and what I'm curious about quantum and that is how can we put like quantum into smart infrastructure? So like whether it be bridges, buildings, just typical infrastructure, where can quantum technology fit into that for like, say, making these infrastructures like last?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely about the like capacity part of it. So right now, quantum computers, they need like intensive cooling systems. They can only kind of complete like simple algorithms at a time. Like they're only suited for like specific purposes. So I want to see how far we can expand that, especially because as like qubit computers become more common, we need to start, using them to store more memory so that they're actually able to do functions that classical computers like either can't do or just don't have the bandwidth to do. And so I just want to see how we can expand quantum computers from their infancy to something that we can actually use in our day-to-day life. And that's kind of what I want to know more about, like what restrictions do we have? How can we bypass those restrictions? Can we get funding to explore more research and development, that kind of stuff? That is what I'm interested to know more.
So for me, I think going into this program, my major question was, can quantum be a field that I could commit myself to? Because it was pretty new, me entering the field and like seeing just the immersion program as all, it was still pretty new to me. So like I thought, is it something I could commit to? Is it still gonna be around? Am I gonna have a job? The quantum immersion program and this event answered that question. Definitely, yes. And then coming out of it, okay, so if it's going to be around for such a long time and have such an impact on everything we do, how can we get started? How can we get others to start early and see how can we get high schoolers and beginning undergrads to get into quantum as quick as possible and really build up that fundamental knowledge so they're not getting faced with such a blockade when they go to, for example, their grad and they want to focus on quantum research. And so my main question would be, how can we integrate quantum lessons into high schools and make sure that we're building up this workforce so it's able to tackle the big problems that quantum will have in the future?
Well, I love that. And I want to actually turn that back to all of you, which is, since you are that next generation workforce, you've gotten a chance to get into quantum a little bit and see what it's all about as high school students, which most of your peers have not had that opportunity. What should this look like in the high schools? How should we be engaging with students at an early stage in this material and getting them interested and excited? Yeah, Horayn.
I think that this program is the perfect first step for engaging in high schoolers in quantum. Like, I believe reaching out to high schools, telling them about the program, inviting scholars to come and learn, it's an amazing first step. And hey, I'm here. I never knew anything about quantum until this program. So I believe what we have here is a great foundation.
Yeah, adding on to that, I believe a common misconception among our generation is that quantum is just physics, and it's just really, really scary, complicated physics, or it just exists in like Ant-Man and the Wasp. So I feel like getting students, through like programs like these, getting students to know that quantum is real and anyone can understand quantum and anyone can apply quantum to their career path is something that not a lot of students actually know about in this day and age. And I think that that's really sad because it's so amazing. So I think that definitely like programs like these that educate students without like overwhelming them, because wrapping your head around quantum physics for the first time can be very challenging, especially for students who are already like swamped with grades and college apps and whatever. So I think that in like programs that can introduce these in a fun way with digestible information and content, like there's a learning side, but there's also like a hands-on side. I think that kind of combination is really, really impactful in making students understand the applications of quantum without overwhelming them and making them more suited to go into the workforce in the future when quantum is more prevalent.
Okay, so what I think would be like how we're able to get like quantum into this younger workforce would be get it into the classroom earlier. I feel like beginning physics and beginning computer science, I feel like we could definitely integrate some of the lessons we learned in the Pathway Immersion program into them. Because what I've realized about high school students is that they will take on any challenge you give them. And they honestly would go after it with such ambition, it will surprise you. And so my focus would be like not to so-called baby them. I think you should give them the challenge. And because I know they're devoted to accepting that challenge and really going after it. And then additionally, I think because of how early it is getting into the younger workforce, I think we need some type of form of connection, a student network of some sort for the students who can really become one together under the quantum field.
That's great, and there certainly have been lots of discussions about getting quantum plans, and we've been trying to work with teachers as well to think about how we get it in there. So you've all talked a little bit about sort of the how, and I'd love to hear a little bit more of the why, because I mean, you've sort of given your personal view on like why this was great for you, but hearing a little bit of your thoughts of why should we do this more broadly? Why is it important for your generation to learn about quantum when we know, I mean, not every one of them necessarily will engage with this, but I think one of the questions we get asked very often by folks is, okay, great, but why should every student learn this stuff, even if they're going to be doing other things with their lives?
I feel like it's super important that students should learn about quantum because, as we said before, quantum is super interdisciplinary. So, like during the program, we met officials from CNAS, people who have integrated quantum, and they come from a finance background. Like there are so many fields where quantum is applicable in, and we should want students to understand that, like, hey, you don't have to focus only on this one field. Like, quantum can go into a lot of other things that you may be interested in too.
Yeah, definitely. Going off of that, I think that even if a student is not going into quantum or like a STEM field, it's really important to learn about quantum because if they don't, then they might be unprepared for the future especially because our generation is facing so many upcoming problems right now, whether that's climate change, whether that's cybersecurity. We know for a fact that if quantum algorithms reach a stage where they can complete Shor's algorithm, a lot of our information won't be safe. And that can pose a real threat, along with a lot of other things that are going to exist when we grow up. And it's really important for our generation to know that a solution does exist in the form of quantum, because even if they may not be interested in, let's say, quantum algorithms, they definitely are going to be invested in the future of our world and of our people. And so I believe that even if, yes, they don't study quantum in the future, they need to know that it exists so that we can get that out there and start solving these problems before they creep up on us and it's too late.
Yeah, so to add on to a little bit of that, as like people in the audience, as innovators, as investors, as people who run companies, you want to have a strong crew. You want to have the person you're putting your money and your time towards, someone who's is definitely going to make change. And getting off a little path here, but for example, in high school basketball, we know as middle schools who play basketball, they do so much better in high school basketball compared to somebody who would have started in high school basketball and just went through their 4 years. So I think that same thing kind of applies to like quantum learning and like learning about the quantum field. If you start them earlier, they're just going to be that much more fundamentally sound when they come to your company, when they come asking for investments into what they're doing. Because then you know that they will be fundamentally sound in what they're going to do, and you'll be more guaranteed that they're definitely going to make some form of change.
Wonderful, and we've got just a couple of minutes left, so I wanted to give each of you an opportunity, if there's one thing you'd like to leave us with about the program, about your experience, about quantum in general, as you think about it going forward, what would that be?
Starting with me, I would say overall, I have loved this experience at George Mason with their quantum program. I would recommend it to all the underclassmen, my family, and friends. So this was a really nice opportunity for me to kind of put myself out there and learn about something that I didn't know, that I still don't fully know, but I'm willing to put in the time to get myself further acquainted with it.
Yeah, definitely. Going off of that, like, quantum is for everyone, so invest in us because we can do it, we can understand it, we will work for it. So we are not, we're worth investing in, especially like the younger generation, especially people who are interested in STEM. Like, we will work for our future, we will work like really hard to be the best we can. So just know that we're passionate about quantum, we're passionate about our world, and quantum has a place for everybody.
On one final note, so my thing would be, as we develop more quantum technology and we get to understand it much more, and we find all these different applications towards it, I think what I'm really hopeful that doesn't happen is we lose our view of why we're developing that technology. I want to make sure that we're going towards that developing of that technology because we want to help people, we want to help students, and I know there's so many things going on. Like, we always just like, I want to develop new technology, emerging. But let's not forget about the people who that technology is for. Because those are the same very people that's going to support that development of that technology and is going to help it improve it even faster.
Yeah, it's great. And so, I mean, it's always exciting to work with the students. They do an incredible job sort of year after year. We hope we can continue this into the future. We look to all of you for support for that as we go forward, because it is an incredible opportunity to get the next generation involved and help prepare them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.